Welcome back, this is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this super adorable manatee wrap tumbler. As always, I'll make sure to put everything I used today into the description box below, so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. I have already prepped and I primed a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. I just painted it a basic white because I'm going to be using white glitter today. Now, to get my glitter stuck down to my tumbler, I'm actually going to be adding it right into my epoxy. And that glitter I'll be using today is called Pinnacle, but you can use your favorite white glitter you already have on hand for this project. Now I have about 20 milliliters of epoxy mixed up into my little measuring cup here, and I'm using a fast setting epoxy for this today. Now when I do this particular method, the only thing that I want to make sure is that I have enough glitter in my epoxy so it doesn't leave streak marks once I apply that epoxy mixture down to the tumbler, but not so much that it's going to make it too thick and it's hard to spread. So I just like to do, what I like to do is just apply enough glitter to the surface or the top of my epoxy in its cup, and then I give it a good stir, and then I add a little bit more if I need to. So I'm just checking to make sure that there's not too much clear in between my glitter, and if I feel like there is, I just add a little bit more. So you just want to do a little bit at a time until you get the consistency that you are looking for. So after I had that little bit of glitter mixed into there, I'm going to go ahead and take a look, and as you can see, it's mostly glitter that I can see, not too much clear in between, and that's what I'm going for. And another thing I like to do when applying my glitter epoxy mixture to my tumbler to help, again, prevent those streaks that could occur if you do it in this manner is I take my epoxy and I put it down in segments. So I have this segment, and I'm not going to push it too far away from there. As you can see, I'm just going to go up and down with it, and then I'm going to take some more epoxy and lay it right down next to it, and again just kind of smush it into that particular section. So I'm just going to continue that process completely around until my tumbler is full with my glitter epoxy mixture. But of course, if you don't want to apply your glitter in this fashion onto your tumbler, go ahead and do it whatever way you feel more comfortable. So with your Mod Podge or with your just epoxy method, go ahead and do it that way. I just like doing it this way when I already know that I'm going to be doing kind of like a full wrap thing over top. It just gets done a little bit quicker for me. Now, after I applied all 20 milliliters of that glitter epoxy mixture down to my tumbler, I'm just going to take my gloved hand and just come through and kind of smooth everything out, make sure there's no lumps anywhere and all that. Then I'm going to come through and take my opposite gloved hand, and I'm going to kind of press everything back up off the rim. That just makes it a little bit easier when we go to trim everything and all that, and sand and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and place that onto my turner. I'm going to hit it up really good with my torch, and I'm going to let that cure. Now, after it has cured, if you notice that there are any little dimples or anything like that in your epoxy, which could occur, especially depending on what type of glitter that you're using, it's a simple fix of just applying another coat of clear epoxy over top so that we have a nice smooth surface to be able to put our wrap onto. And once that has cured, now we're going to go ahead and do our measuring. So I'm going to go ahead and measure the height and the width. I tend to like to wait to do these type of measurements till after everything is cured and my base is ready to go, because each time the width might be just a little bit different, seeing as you don't know how much epoxy you're going to be applying. So you just want to make sure that you measure your width really well each time you do a wrap. So I got this absolutely adorable wrap off of Amaysing Trinkets. I'll make sure to put her shop down in the description box below so that you guys can use this wrap. But when you download it, what you are going to get are 3 separate files. There's this V1, V2, and V3. In the V1, you're going to find a seamless file for the Manatee wrap. In the V2, you're going to find a more finished, tailored look wrap, which is what I'm going to be using. And in the V3, you're going to find one that's just 2 rows of manatees with that tailored look to it. So again, I'm going to go ahead and click on the V2 portion of my folders here. Now this is what you're going to see after you open up the folder that you choose. Now each one of these folders says the same exact thing. You're going to get 3 silhouettes and then one kind of like cat. You could use cat scratch paper for it, you know what I mean? So I'm actually not going to use any of the 3 silhouettes. I'm actually going to go ahead and click on the color SVG there at the end. Let's go ahead and get this size down to the proportions that we need for our tumbler. And if you need to, don't be afraid to unlock that image. You see the lock button at the top there, right above the width and height. Go ahead and unlock that to get your proper measurements in there. Now all that is left to do is go ahead and get everything cut out. So the manatees are going to be cut out separate, and so are the bubbles. So you see the manatees in there and the bubbles, and then the swirly background. All three of those things are going to be cut separately. So I'm going to go ahead and hide all of the manatees and the bubbles for myself, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out the background first, which I will show you guys here in a minute. But essentially once this is cut out, we're going to be doing kind of a peekaboo with this. So this will be our mask for what we want to do over top of our tumbler. Once I'm done cutting out the background, I'll bring the manatees back into focus. And I'm showing you here that if you want to cut it out so that way everything is proportionate, so you can just roll it on over top, you can do it that manner. But I want to do my manatees all single, so it didn't matter if they were exactly where they needed to be. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut those out on like a matte silver. Again, I'll put everything down in the description box. And after I cut my manatees out, I'll bring the bubbles into focus here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide my manatees, bring my bubbles forward, and I'm gonna cut the bubbles out on an opal, kind of yellowy pink opal. So now, like I said earlier, we're going to be doing kind of like a peekaboo look to this. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and weed my template here. So we are essentially weeding the bulk of our background here, leaving just the swirly portions and the little bubbles and whatnot. So this was extremely easy to weed. There's barely any little things that you have to pull out. There was just a couple little things here and there that you have to come back through manually and pull out yourself that wasn't connected to the bulk of the background. And once it's all weeded, this is what we have left here. And now we're ready to apply it to our tumbler. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and apply my transfer tape. The reason I have to do it in two sections here is because my transfer tape is just 4 inches wide, so I had to do double my transfer tape. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that down really good, and then I'll come through and trim off any excess around the perimeter of my template. And of course, before I go ahead and apply that template, I'm going to wrap it around my tumbler, making sure that everything is going to fit as snugly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and roll back about 2, almost 3 inches of my paper backing off of my template. I'm going to go ahead and cut that away so it doesn't get in my way here. Now, the way I like to put my templates down, because this makes me feel more comfortable doing this way, and I want you guys to always do things the way you feel more comfortable, because sometimes the way I do it might not be for you, but I like to lay my tumbler down flat on a surface, and then I like to just kind of eyeball it as straight as I possibly can up and down my tumbler, and that's how I pretty much apply my templates. And then I'm just going to roll it on from there after that. But if you need to add a line or anything you need to do to be able to get your template applied, go ahead and do it in that fashion. So now I'm just going to go ahead and continue to roll on my template here. And before I get almost to the end, I go ahead and remove the paper backing completely. As you can see, my hand is propping up the underneath so that way it doesn't accidentally stick down where I don't want it to. And then I just continue burnishing everything down. And once I get to the end here, I'm going to go ahead and start pulling away my transfer tape that is in the way of my other transfer tape, so that way I can make this as seamless as possible. And after I have my transfer tape removed, I'm going to go ahead and come through and just kind of zhuzh a little bit of things here and there down the back of my center line. So right here, there was just a little piece of the swirl that was on the other side of my transfer tape. So I'm just taking it and I'm going to manually apply that. And again, this is pretty seamless for me. Before I apply my inks, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that all my seams are pressed down really, really well. Then I'm actually going to give it 2 coats of my semi-gloss clear. I found this is extremely helpful to help out just in case I didn't press anything down firmly. This will help those inks from going up underneath our decals. All right, our spray sealer is nice and dry, and I'm going to be using 3 different types of blues. So I have 3 different shades. So the mermaid one has more like a greenish, yellowish tone to it, and then the 2 other ones is like a lighter blue and a darker blue. I also have a silver mixative, which I did use, but then I ended up not liking it, and I went over it. So I'll show you guys what I did with that. And I also have some rubbing alcohol, a brush, and a paper plate. Now I'm using 3 separate blues today because I wanted kind of more depth in my blues. So it's going to give it kind of greenish tones here and there. It's going to give it kind of lighter tones and then like a deep dark blue. So that's why I'm using 3 colors. But if you only have 1 color in hand, you can achieve this look as well with just 1 color. So it's completely up to you as to how many inks you'd like to use or even what color inks you would like to use. That's the fun part of this. Or you could even just spray paint it if you would like to. Completely up to you, because there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. But as you can see here, all I'm doing is taking each one of these colors and layering it on, giving it just a lot of depth and dimension to my tumbler because I wanted it to look more underwater than anything. So that's what the look I was going for here. And you may have noticed I also sprayed some basic rubbing alcohol onto my plate as well. Again, this is going to help it kind of melt together and give us more of that water look that I want. So I'm just going to continue to come through using all three of those inks and just dabbling on that color until it is completely filled up. Now, after I got all my coloring applied, I decided to come back through with my darker blue, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put that randomly here and there, giving it just a little bit more dimension to my coloring. So as you can see here, after I dabble that on, you'll see it kind of darkened up some areas, leaving some areas lighter than others. And after I did that, I decided I wanted to come through and see if I liked the silver. So I did add it. As you can see, I'm kind of putting that here and there. I didn't put it too many places, just a couple places, because you know this mixative can really take over a project if you let it. So after I got done doing that, I realized I didn't really like it too much, so I'm just going to take some of that mermaid alcohol ink and just take it and dabble right over the top of the silver, and you can't even tell that I had laid any of that silver mixative down. So very easy fix. I was a little worried that I might have ruined my tumbler, but I didn't. Okay, it was an easy fix. So I'm just going to cover up those silver spots. And to give it more of that water look that I would like, I'm going to take my rubbing alcohol in my spritz bottle, and you can't see where I'm holding my spritz bottle, but I'm holding it as far back as I possibly can, and I am spritzing that directly over top of my alcohol inks, giving it just more of like a bubbly look over top. It's going to give it lots of texture, and everything is going to kind of start to melt together as well. So you just want to apply as much of that rubbing alcohol as you would like till you get the look that you would like. I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side and let my inks, I mean, they're pretty much dry now, but I just want to make sure. So I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and start peeling back my decals. So using the spray sealer was kind of something new that I just recently came upon, and I'm so happy that I found that because look at these lines, they are so crisp. This is how I'm doing my peekaboos from now on. I'm going to be giving them a coat of spray sealer before I do my stuff over top. Definitely worked out very well. So I'm just going to continue to removing this vinyl, exposing the white glitter underneath, which is what our manatees will be sticking down to here in a second. The great thing about this is if you accidentally nick the paint or the alcohol ink that you did, it's so easy just to come through and dab around with some alcohol ink, and you can't even tell because it's already distressed anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to peel this back, and then we'll finish this up. So here are my vinyls. I got my manatees all cut out, got my bubbles all cut out, and before I lay these down, I'm going to go ahead and give it another coating of my spray sealer. I'm going to let that dry really well, and then we're going to start finishing up these decals. Now, like I said earlier, if you want to go ahead and just do it so that way you can just wrap these manatees on, you can do it that way, but I feel more comfortable just doing them in little groupings as they are supposed to be. So this is how I'm going to be applying my manatees. And the great thing is there's already kind of an offset around the manatees, so they're really easy to line up and place down right on top of where that glitter is exposed. So after I got all my little manatees laid down, this is what I have so far. So adorable. I just love this. So cute. Now we're going to go ahead and start applying our bubbles. And I just kind of took those off more than one. I did more of a grouping of this. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that across my tumbler here. Just very easy, lines up very flawlessly. And there was one little bubble that I'll have to come through and put down myself. Not a big deal. And after I got that done, I noticed that there was one other little bubble missing, and I couldn't find it anywhere. This is me searching for it. I can't find it. No idea. Where is it? I don't know. I kept looking and looking, and finally, I seen it on my finger. So problem solved. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting these bubbles down. Hopefully no more stick to my body, and I can't find them, you know. So now I'm just going to come through and make sure everything is stuck down really good. Then I'm going to go ahead and apply a coat of epoxy over top of this. Now, once this has cured is when you want to go ahead and sand up around your rim, exposing a little bit of that silver to give it a nice finished look. You can go ahead and apply your decals or go ahead and let your art speak for itself. Either way, I know you guys got this. After that, you just want to give it its last two finishing coats of epoxy, and she is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.